For 4 hours, a Soviet submarine has been trapped underwater, cut off from the surface, cut off from Moscow, hunted. Inside, the crew is suffocating. The temperature has reached 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Men are passing out. Some are going mad. And above them, American destroyers are dropping explosives into the water. Practice depth charges, the U.S. Navy will later say. Warning shots. But down here in the dark, the heat with no orders from command. It doesn't feel like a warning, it feels like a war. Their submarine carries a nuclear weapon. 1 torpedo, 1 warhead. Powerful enough to vaporize an aircraft carrier and start World War III. Soviet protocol is clear. If under attack, 3 officers must unanimously agree to launch. As tensions reach a breaking point, the captain says, "Fire." The political officer says, "Fire." The second in command says nothing. That silence, that single no, spoken in a steel coffin 30 miles from Florida, changed everything. Because if he had said yes, American ships would have retaliated. Moscow would have responded. And you wouldn't be here to hear this story. October 27, 1962. The world calls it Black Saturday, the most dangerous day of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba is 90 miles from Florida. In the Cold War, that isn't distance, it is a countdown. Fidel Castro takes power and leans toward Moscow. America tries to remove him at the Bay of Pigs. It fails in 72 hours. Cuba expects the next attempt to be bigger, so Castro turns to the Soviets for protection. Khrushchev's answer is simple. Put nuclear missiles in Cuba. But missiles don't arrive as speeches, they arrive as concrete. And U.S. spy planes catch the sites under construction. Now it's not rumor, it's hardware. 90 miles from Miami. Kennedy declares a quarantine. No more weapons in. Force Moscow to blink. For 13 days, the U.S. and the Soviet Union have been locked in a standoff over nuclear missiles in Cuba. Diplomats scramble. Leaders weigh options. The world holds its breath. But while everyone watches the missiles on land, another crisis is unfolding underwater. 4 Soviet Foxtrot-class diesel-electric submarines, built for cold waters, each carrying conventional torpedoes and 1 nuclear-armed torpedo, yield about 10 kilotons, roughly 2/3 of Hiroshima. The Soviet Navy sent them to protect Cuba. The U.S. Navy is trying to force them to surface. The Americans use a tactic they believe is harmless, signaling depth charges. Practice explosions meant to communicate. We know you're here. Surface, identify yourself. But when you're suffocating, cut off from your commanders, a signal can feel like the first shot. From the surface, it looks like paradise. Calm sea, bright sky, warm tropical air. But down below, that warmth becomes the enemy. This Foxtrot-class sub was built for cold northern waters, designed to hunt NATO ships, not to sit sealed in tropical heat. In warm seas, the hull can't shed heat properly, and the inside starts cooking. It's diesel-electric, batteries for silent running, diesels to recharge. To run those diesels, it needs air. Snorkel up, breathe, recharge the batteries, keep the cooling and ventilation alive. If it can't snorkel, the battery drains, and every system begins to fail. Fans slow, air thickens, CO2 climbs. Temperatures push toward 50 degrees Celsius in crew spaces, even hotter near the engines. Men faint, and every breath becomes work. And B-59 hasn't heard from Moscow in 3 days. Then the explosions start again. For hours, American ships keep dropping charges, not to sink the submarine, but to force it up. Inside B-59, no one can know that for sure. So the crew was cornered by 3 options: stay down and suffocate, surface and be captured, or fire first. On most Soviet submarines, launching a nuclear weapon required two people, the captain and the political officer. This wasn't just about safety, it was about control. The political officer, the Zampolit, represented the Communist Party on board. His role was to enforce political oversight and ensure the crew stayed aligned with party authority. In practice, it meant no single commander, no matter how senior, could authorize the use of nuclear weapons alone. But B-59 is different. Arkhipov isn't the captain. He's the flotilla's chief of staff, effectively the senior officer across the group of 4 submarines. And because B-59 is the flagship, he's on board. That means on this submarine, and only this one, a nuclear launch needs 3 approvals, 3 exhausted men, no orders, explosions outside, and a decision that can't be undone. Captain Savitsky believed they were under attack. The problem is, he had no way to know if he was right. 4 days of total blackout, no radio, no orders, no confirmation of what was happening above. Then American destroyers begin dropping depth charges directly overhead. To the Americans, it's a signal, surface. To B-59, it feels like the opening shots of a war. And Soviet protocol was built for one assumption. If the war has started, you don't wait to be finished. One weapon changes everything. A nuclear torpedo, Hiroshima-scale power, underwater. But on this boat, one man can't decide it alone. To arm the special weapon, 3 officers must agree. Savitsky says yes. Maslenikov says yes. And then all eyes turn to Arkhipov. This isn't a heroic speech moment. It's exhausted men, boiling air, and a ship being hammered in the dark. Savitsky believes we're already in it. Arkhipov believes we don't know that. And if you fire blind, you don't start a battle. You start a chain reaction. Because a nuclear blast near American ships doesn't look like an accident. It looks like the first strike of World War III. And up there, above the water, Kennedy and Khrushchev are still negotiating, still searching for an exit. The world hasn't ended. B-59 just doesn't know it. Arkhipov carries one memory that matters here. K-19, a nuclear disaster up close. Not theory, not politics, people. So he refuses to sign. Not because he's sure they're safe, but because he's sure of one thing. Once you launch a nuclear weapon, the future goes silent. Arkhipov says no. Surface, reconnect, confirm what's real before you make it over. Late on October 27, 1962, B-59 surfaces. When B-59 breaks the surface, it's chaos. American destroyers surround it. Helicopters circle. Flares turn the ocean white. And then something surreal. Jazz music blasting across the water from one of the ships. But the Americans don't board. They keep their distance. Loud, visible, controlled. The message is clear. We see you, and we want this to end without blood. Savitsky signals back. A protest, an accusation. One U.S. ship flashes a question in return. Do you need assistance? And gradually the pressure eases. The harassment stops. B-59 stays on the surface long enough to stabilize, then turns away. After surfacing, it doesn't end in a dramatic capture. No boarding, no shots fired, just separation and a silent retreat back into the ocean. Here's the most dangerous part. The Americans didn't know what they were pressuring. They thought these were conventional submarines. Later, leaders admitted how close the world came and how little they understood in the moment. This isn't just a story about one hero. Modern catastrophe doesn't require evil or a mastermind. It only needs a system that demands fast decisions with incomplete information. Arkhipov mattered because he delayed the irreversible choice, restraint. And the world kept spinning because someone refused to guess.